Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so glad you were able to come and join us. This is Crystal Clear Podcast, where it's all about Jesus. And I'm excited about the podcast today. And, I think about sometimes we have conversations that we need to slow down. We need to take a deep breath, and we need to make room for tender places in our heart. And this is one of those times. If you've ever lost someone or know someone that lost a family member, we know that a loss never comes at the right time. It always comes at a time when you don't expect it. And it's not tied up in a little bow, and it's not in a little straight line where you could put it somewhere. It always seems to come at an inopportune time. Well, we want you to know that in grief, in heaviness, God is still there. God has a way of meeting us wherever we are. And today, we have the pleasure of speaking with someone that has been through that process. And I believe she's going to share some good nuggets with us. Her journey has changed after the loss of her husband. She's living a new normal. And she's going to share what God has did for her and how God has taken her through this time of loss. But first, before I introduce our guest today, I would like to tell you a little something about her. Her name is Veronica Robertson, and we met at work. Both of us worked for the federal government, but we worked in the same building, but with different agencies. And I used to see Veronica walking out all through the building, always dressed impeccably well, always had a smile on her face. And I said, there's something about that lady. I don't know what it is, but there's something about her. We used to go into the basement of the building. The building had an area where you can walk a whole mile. You could exercise. And we would go down and exercise along with other people in the building between 12 and 1 o'clock. We would all meet downstairs and do our little exercise. And so we interacted there doing our exercising until one day, it may have been a year or two after that, my husband and I joined New Life Church in Decatur, Georgia, where Marlon D. Harris is the pastor. And this particular evening, they were giving I believe it's a seminar on finances. And so my husband and I pulled up to the church. He parked the car. I got out. And as we were walking towards the building, this lady said, Crystal. I said, Veronica? And we just laughed because we did not know we were members of the same church. Even though we worked together, exercised together, had no idea we were members of the same church. And you know what I said? That's what was special about this lady. That's what it is. So I am so glad to have her today with me as a guest today. And we're going to talk about some good times, some not so good times, but also how God is with us through all of those times and can comfort your heart. So I would like to introduce today my guest, Veronica Robertson.
Hi, Crystal. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. I also want to say that her and I are in Toastmasters International Club. And that's another way. I think you've been in there, about 10 years? Have you been a member?
I joined in 2010.
So
16 years.
Okay, so I've known you since then. Mm-hmm. Wow, time does fly.
It does.
But anyway, I've enjoyed her company. She's an inspiration in our Toastmasters Club. So let me just start off by asking you, before we continue, tell us a little something about yourself.
Absolutely. Before I tell you about me, let me tell you something I know about you. Is that you are an amazing person. And sometimes we don't hear it enough. So I wanted you to know that just from the start that you are amazing. For me, I'm originally from King Street, South Carolina, a really big town, about 4,000 people total. We have 2 adults, Chantel and Brandon. And now we have 3 grandkids.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. And
Congratulations.
I'm one of 9. So my mother had 9 children. All are alive and doing well. Served in the Army, and I retired from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency.
That's another story you may want to share a little bit when you talk about your husband, how you all met. I think that's such a funny story. Tell us how you and your husband
Oh,
met.
Crystal, we met in California. He's from Baton Rouge. I'm from South Carolina. And we were in a very remote area called Hurlong, California. I thought it was going to be sunshine, beaches, and it was snow and animals. It didn't look like the California I expected. And we were only the 2 persons of color at that time that were there. So he automatically knew who I was. I didn't know him. But he was asking me questions about me, and I was a smart mouth young person at the time. So I just gave it right back to him. And he said he was engaged at the time. I said, no one will marry you. And he had this pot set. It's called Magna Light, the best pots ever. He had a brand new set. And I said, who are those for? He said, my fiance. I said, she'll never see them. I didn't know that was going to be true, but I still have the pots today.
You were prophesying back
I
then.
prophesied. I still have those pots. So that's how we met in California,
Okay.
both in the military.
Great, great. Well, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
So how do you describe you and your husband's life that you'll share together? How would you describe that?
I always said to him, because when we met, people have a certain thing or person that they like. And I said, I'm not sure I'm the person that you were looking for, but I'm the person that God wanted you to have.
Okay.
And that was absolutely true. And not only I was the one for him, he was the one for me. Because I kept looking and I said I would never get married. But after learning about him, knowing him, spending time with him, he was exactly what I needed. He was a family man. That was his purpose in life, he said. He was a family man, and he took great care of his family. He treated me like a queen. We had one argument out of 36 years.
Really?
One disagreement, and it was over a card game in Europe. That was the only argument.
Really?
Now, did we have disagreements? Yes, but never arguments.
Wow. You need to package that and teach other people, married people, how that happened.
It happened because we chose for it to happen.
Okay.
In a marriage is just not all about love. It's having action and choosing. Choosing
correct.
not to call him a name that I can't take back, or choosing for him to say something that he can't take back from me. So we chose not to argue, disagree, yes, because I'm a hothead sometimes. So when we disagreed, but no yelling, no screaming, none of that.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you all were married for 30 years.
30. We were married for 36, and we were engaged for 2. So we count those 2 as 38.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Count those 2. Yes, definitely. What are some memories of him that you still think about?
He was a funny guy. He was actually an introvert. Most people didn't realize he was quite an introvert. He only showed his extrovertness when he liked people. He was a man of God. He really knew his word. I think I remember most about him is how he took care of the family. And not only his family, his mother, he called her every day of the week. And I said, any man who loves their mother that way, I could get with that.
That's
so
true.
I remember how he took care of us, hard worker. When he got home from work, he always went to the room and rest. He needed his quiet time. And that's what I learned in a marriage. Grant people what they need. He needed his space. I granted him his space. I need my people so I can get my energy. He allowed me to do that.
Beautiful. I kind of learned that the hard way. My husband said, I need some space, some time. Why do you need time? Why do you need space? But I understand it now.
Absolutely.
I understand it now. Can you think of something that he did that made you smile?
I think the list is too long.
Just one something.
I will tell you that there were many things that made me smile when we were together. But after he passed, I collected, I kept all the cards he gave me, all of them. But when I put them all together in this nice, beautiful box, the box wouldn't close. That's as many cards as he had given me over the years. And sometimes he'd come home, there's a card I would come home, I'm sorry, and there's a card on the table just because.
That's nice. Beautiful. I usually keep all my cards as well.
Yes.
I think it's good when you could go back and read them.
Read them?
And it just brings back those good memories.
Absolutely.
I have another question. My next question is, what scripture, or you may have more than one, that carried you through this time or your time of loss?
There are many, like you said. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Man, do you know it, Krista? Proverbs 3?
Proverbs 3,
Lean not.
lean not to your own understanding. In all thy ways, acknowledge him, and he shall direct
thy path. I leaned on that the entire time. And in and out of season, when you have different seasons, for my different seasons, that's the one I remind myself of. I love that scripture. And there are many, but that's the one.
I'm sure.
That's the one for me. And then one more is Jeremiah 29 and 11.
Is that the eyeglass?
That's the one that we know not the plans he has for us.
Yes, okay. We sort of term that as those eyeglasses. God knows and he sees because he knows the plans that he has for us.
He knows.
And we just have to trust and have faith to walk in those plans, even when we don't understand it. Just walk in where God leads us.
Absolutely.
So your husband transitioned, was it 2 years now?
It's 2 years now.
2 years now. I was so impressed with the way you and your family handled the services. But let me backtrack. You remember a few months before that, you and your husband attended the affair that Jeanette had for her Phoebe, what was it?
Oh, the launch.
Yes, right. Of her nonprofit
Absolutely.
organization. And your husband was there. And he wasn't feeling well. But I went over, I spoke to him, and I could tell he wasn't feeling well. But I appreciated the fact that he made his way and he came. You know, he could have stayed home, but he decided to come. And finding out later, I think you told me he wasn't feeling well at the time. And I left him alone, but I appreciated the fact that he came out.
Let me tell you why he came. Because I asked, would he attend?
Uh-huh.
And he did not want to come because he didn't feel well, but he said, I'll come because you asked.
That's so sweet.
Wasn't that sweet?
That is so sweet. I tell you, when you and the children and the grandbaby,
Avery,
y'all got up on the stage during his homegoing service and said those things. I don't think I would have been able to do that. And what impressed me the most was that you made a book of everything that he did each day. And I thought that was such amazing that you have that to hold on to remember.
I do.
God is so good.
He is so good, Crystal.
Now, how does your story help you minister to other people? Because I know you part of the ministry at the church for widows and widowers.
Oh, let me tell you. I'm so glad you know about that.
Yes.
There was no such thing. There wasn't a ministry. I even asked, I said, do you all know? I asked the leadership, do you know how many widows and widowers we have in New Life? No one knew.
Idea.
No one knew. We started the ministry. The very first time we had a meet and greet, it was almost 40 people on the call.
Wow.
We had no idea. So the ministry has been going strong for over a year now.
We
meet via Zoom. We had an outing, and we didn't ask to be in the same circle, but we are. And we share that commonality of losing a spouse. So people who understand it makes me want to continue it.
That's
because
great.
we can always go to each other, and it's not a sad story. We're not crying. We're talking about life, and we're appreciating how the Lord put us together. He knew we would be together. We just didn't know it.
Right.
And how we continue to get the strength from each other.
Great, great. Great.
And when I said New Life has been very supportive, anything that we need or ask, they provide it for us.
That's great. That's wonderful. So tell me, when you knew your husband was transitioning, how you handled that with your adult children and your grandchild at the time?
I was honest with them the entire time.
Okay.
It would have been terrible for them to find out later that he was ill and he had a terminal illness. So when I found things out, I told them. And we all walked the walk together. It was hard for them to see their father because he was a strong man.
Yes,
He was a very prideful man. To see him not able to do the things he did and the grandbaby not to go places with Papa because she could get anything out of him she wanted, anything. So that was a bit challenging for them. But when I said they showed up when I needed them to come and help me turn him or do whatever, they would show up for that. So I just honesty. I mean, they're part of the family. Why not tell them?
Yeah, I can see that. I can see
Why
that.
not tell them?
Your Avery got up on the stage and said he was the best grandpop in the whole world. I tell you,
Let me tell you what he did with her. And I call him the best grandpapa because I wasn't doing it as a grandmother. When the Barbie movie came out,
Yes.
he said, Avery, you want to go? She's like, yes, I want to go. She was so excited. He said, V, you want to go? I said, oh, absolutely not.
Why not?
That just wasn't my cup of tea.
I got you.
But he sacrificed to go to that movie. Not something he wanted to do. He wanted to do something for her.
For her.
And he did that. So she'll always remember those things.
Wow. That's wonderful. That's great. That's great. All right. For a person that may be listening to this podcast and have experienced a loss of a spouse. Now, I know people have experienced maybe a loss of a mother, father, sibling, aunt, uncle. But I think in all of those different scenarios, the grief is a little different. Just like our relationships with our spouse is different than our relationship with our children and our grandchildren. So how would you try to encourage someone that feels that God left them? They ask all those questions. Why did you have to do this, God? Why did you? And they feel just left behind. They just feel like God just alienated them, or they can't make any sense out of the loss. What are some of those things you would say to them?
Thank you, Crystal. A loss, any loss, a mother, a child, a parent, a spouse, any loss is painful. So I want anyone that is listening to know, we're not saying that the loss of a mother or a spouse hurts any less. It does not.
Right.
I lost my mother the year before Eric passed. And he was at her service speaking, and then the next year he's gone. So a mother and a husband within a year, that was really tough. I never questioned God as to why, but I can tell you that the pain is great for the loss of a spouse. That's who you spend your time with. That's who you make your life with. That's your spouse.
Yes.
And then when they're gone, you feel that loneliness, that emptiness. And that's what I felt. I felt the emptiness the first night after he was buried. And I laid in that bed and I said, he's not here. And I would touch his pillow. But how I made it through, I allowed myself to cry. I allowed myself to know that as much as I wanted him to stay with me, God knew best. And I'll tell you why I knew God knew best. As I laid there and watched him, not able to speak after a while, he couldn't do anything for himself, but I wanted him there. But I asked myself, am I selfish, God? Because I want him to stay? And you're saying he's not? Then I had to realize, Crystal, just because I wanted him there doesn't mean he wanted to be here.
Yes.
He may have gotten to the point, and I don't know because he couldn't speak anymore. He may have gotten to the point where he didn't want to be here. I cried. I allowed myself to look at pictures, but I allowed myself not to do it every day, all day.
Okay.
I prayed. I asked for the strength. I would talk about him because a lot of times when people pass away, we act as if they didn't exist. I use his name. I call him Eric. I talk to the children. We have fun and laugh about
That's
the funny
good.
things.
That's good.
So we still acknowledge that his presence is still with us. Physically, he's not, but his presence is still there. But when I think of grief for anyone, be it a spouse, a child, a mother, father, a friend, grief is love. That's our love showing up.
That's true.
That's our love.
I experienced when my mother transitioned, it was in March. And then 3 months later, my older sister transitioned. So the last time I saw her was at my mother's services. And then 3 months later, we're attending her services. So you're right. The loss is a loss. You grieve. You feel the loss. That took me because I didn't know what was happening. I said, what's going on? But I do understand when a person gets to a point, maybe they're not functioning like they want to. They may not want to be there in that condition. And my mother, we knew she was declining, but I was trying, you want to do your best to keep her going and do whatever you can for her. But it comes a time she lived her life and God knows best. And it was time for her to go. And I think to try to keep her there was selfish.
Yeah.
But you do everything for your parents, for your mother, your father. And I realized, that was kind of selfish. And it's time to go. And she was ready to go.
And that's the thing. When someone is, especially a loss when you don't know what's happening, but I thank the Lord for giving me some warning that it is going to happen because he couldn't function. He couldn't do anything physically anymore. But I still think he could hear me. So I would talk to him every day, open the windows, talk to him and play his favorite song. I did all those things. And at the end of his life, I said, thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to serve. Thank you for the opportunity to serve. And then I'll let you know we have something else in common. My mom passed in March. My husband passed in March. Your mother passed in March.
She passed in March. Yes, that is true. That is true. And I talked to my sister's children. Well, they're adults. And we talk about my sister every now and then, but they passed in 2012. And I tell you, it maybe a year or two ago, when the time came around of their passing, I missed them, but I didn't, it wasn't that hard on me as it was in the beginning. And I know everybody grieves differently. And for me, it took me at least 10 or 12 years to remember and not feel so sad or heartbroken. I still miss them, and I believe I'll see them at the end. And the other thing, the solace I had that my mother was saved.
Oh, I was getting ready to go there.
Go there.
That gives me solace too. If he wasn't a man of God and saved, then I would feel differently. But I knew he was. I knew he was. So that gave me so much peace. I miss him, yes, but God loved him more.
Right.
Yes.
And I realized they're on loan to us.
And we are to each other.
And we are to each other. Exactly. Your husband was funny. I really loved him. I just enjoyed him. I guess he liked me because he was jovial around me sometimes.
He did. He did.
And we had conversations, not real long conversations, but good conversations. And I really did love him. I'm so glad I had the opportunity to meet him and to be a part of his life.
Absolutely.
Before he transitioned. So now, since your husband has transitioned, you're living a new normal. So tell us a little bit about that, what you're doing now.